Hello all, welcome to Lee Technologies. In this session, we'll try to understand about the SQL Loader utility which is provided by Oracle. Let's get into the outline. We'll try to understand what is the SQL Loader and the components of SQL Loader and how do we build a program and also how to register it as a concurrent program and also the tools required to work on SQL Loader utility. So let's get into SQL Loader description. So SQL Loader is an Oracle utility which we use it for the purpose of loading the data from the data file into database table. Okay, so SQL Loader so technically SQL Loader is a utility, nothing but a software program which is used for the purpose of reading the data file and uploading the data into database table. So someone says like if SQL Loader is there and also like instead of using SQL Loader, what is other option? So we also have an option called util underscore file, which is a PL/SQL API. So there is a major difference between a PL/SQL API and a SQL Loader. So PL/SQL API, like we know that it's a PL/SQL program, and using that we can util file API we can read the data. So the functionality which is done by PL/SQL API as well as SQL Loader mostly same, but the performance and set of what to say set of conditions which are provided in SQL Loader is much far better than the PL/SQL util file API. Okay, and also the data load which is done using SQL Loader is very much efficient comparative to PL/SQL API. So there are many reasons behind the usage of SQL Loader comparing to the util file API. So let's not get deviated, but let's concentrate on the SQL Loader. SQL Loader is a Oracle database utility which we use it for the purpose of loading the data from the data file into base table. So there are two components here. One is data file, database table. But how do we load it, right? There should be some program should be written by the developer to perform this particular functionality. So this particular program is called control file. So let's get into much deeper in the next particular slides. So initially, SQL Loader will have a log file, bad or reject file, as well as discard file. Log file gives a clarity on what is a set of things whether it is successful or a fail, what is the input parameters, and it will clearly tell you if you get an error, it will mention that why it could not proceed further, what is the reason behind it. So bad file or reject file, nothing but the set of records which it could not load because of some issues in the bad file. Discard file comes into picture when you mention a particular condition, so based on that it will clearly mention which particular records it discarded for loading. So that's a major difference between log file, bad file, as well as discard file. Log files give you the log information. Bad file gives you the information about the rejected records which it could not load because of the data issues. And discard file is nothing but which it discarded for loading because of the criteria what was mentioned in the SQL Loader file. Nothing but control file we call it as. Okay, so this is how if you want to validate whether SQL Loader is available in your particular system or not, just run the command SQL LDR. If it provides some information saying that what is the version and it will tell you the usage, it means that this particular utility is available. This particular utility is available in your system. If it doesn't provide any information, it means that if it displays command not found, it means that this particular utility is not available in your system. That's how we can validate. So what are the main components to consider before working on the interface or before working with the usage of SQL Loader? So SQL Loader, as we know, that we use for the purpose of loading the data. So to load the data into database table, first of all, we have to understand what is your particular source information. Nothing but what is the content of your file and what is your target table, right? So when you say source file, the file can have different formats. It can be a fixed length or a variable format, and the number of columns are available, and what is the frequency of you want to read the data from your source system and to upload in the target table, right? And also what is the location of your file and what is in which table you want to load it. So whenever you're considering generally in real-time world, where exactly the SQL Loader is used, SQL Loader is mostly used for the purpose of inbound interface, nothing but pumping the data from your source system, from reading the data from your source system to target system. Nothing but when you consider Oracle e-business suite scenario, consider that Oracle e-business suite your target system, from source system, maybe some other legacy system, you read the data and you upload the data into Oracle e-business suite database, right? So we have to clearly mention, if you run the SQL Loader program, you have to mention from where it has to read the file, right? And which table it has to upload, and what is the file, what is the format, and what is the frequency. Because generally, if you consider GL interface or maybe a purchase order interface, we have to understand the frequency, whether it's a hourly, like whether you want to read the data for per hour, per day, per week, per month. So these all clarity you have to consider before designing the program, or generally in the initial case you may not get much clarity on the particular information about the program. But so you have to, once you have to start, once you start with, then like you have to get into most, like you have to show the sample to your business user to get much clarity, and then you can design a very good program without any issues. So how does a data file of fixed length look like? So when you say fixed length, it means that each column is of particular size. If you observe this particular below sample, like each column, now let us say employee number is of 5 deserts, name is of 10 deserts, job is of 10 deserts, right? So this is how, like you can say, a fixed length format. So each particular column is of a particular length. And if it is a variable length, so variable length data is nothing but generally like each column is separated by a particular delimiter. It can be comma delimiter, it can be dollar delimiter, it can be a pipe symbol delimiter. It depends upon your source system how they want to send the data. So when you are integrating between different systems, you have to consider a particular standard that, like, I'm expecting data in this format, you have to send the data in this particular format. So there should be a negotiation and agreement between two systems, then only your program may run properly. So how does a control file look like? So like a developers from a SQL background or a PL/SQL background or maybe Java background. So basic thing is, like, a control file is a developer written file. I mean, developer has to write it so to perform the execution of a SQL loader. So this file extension of SQL loader is SQL loader file is CTL, control file, and there are some set of commands we have to mention. So the first command which you have to follow is load data. That's the initial command. It's like main program in your Java or maybe begin program in your PL/SQL. So load data followed by in file, nothing but which particular file. What is your source file? We have to mention the path followed by file name, and then we have some set of commands like whether you want to append the data into the existing table, whether you want to insert, replace, or truncate. Okay, so mostly we generally use append because we don't want to replace the existing data. We always want to append the data into the table. So if you're performing insert can happen only for the first time. Let us say if you're performing insert, so the data in the table shouldn't be empty, then only insert will work. Append is for the purpose of appending the data into the existing table. It can be empty or whether it may have records. It will just simply add up the data. And coming to the replace and truncate mostly similar. So replace will replace the existing data, nothing but let us say you already have a data. If you use replace command, what happens is it will remove existing data and will just insert the fresh data again. So truncate also will perform the same functionality, but technically in the background fashion, when you perform truncate, it will clean up the memory which is allocated for your table also. Okay, that's the only difference. Into table, so we have to mention into which particular table you want to load the data. So make sure that you mention the schema name if it is not available to apps. Okay, and fields terminated by, if it is for the purpose of like a delimiter base, you have to clearly mention, like in your sources, in your particular target, in your file, like what is the format and how you want to read them. Nothing but like we have to clearly mention whether the fields are terminated by comma, whether fields are terminated by piping symbol, and all those things. And you can also mention optionally, like if you're having a data of string, you have to clearly mention like whether they are enclosed in a single or a double quotes. Okay, some sort of particular extra what you say syntax will be there for the SQL loader to work on. So basically SQL loader will have this major parameters like load data, in file, into particular table, and the column list. These are the major important columns. In the remaining columns, remaining particular conditions you have to mention based on your requirement, as well as your data file you have to consider. Okay, yeah. So now load data, we know that that's initial command. In file, we have three particular ways you can mention. So in file followed by star means that the data is available within the control file. In file followed by dollar file, it means that you are passing this particular parameter at runtime. Generally, this particular option we use it when you want to register the SQL loader as a concurrent program. We'll see this particular sample in the final slide. And coming to other one, in file followed by, if you mention the total path of your file, this is one of the way where you can hard code your file name. Okay. So this is one of the example where data file is an external file. So here, if you're this particular program says that load data. So this from here, it is the program is getting started. Load data in file, the location of your file name, into which table, fields terminated by, how the fields are terminated, and the set of columns. Okay. So let's see one more sample. where data file is within the control file. So here if you observe, right, the data is available within the control file itself. This is one other sample. So here if you observe, this particular kind of thing generally used only in the initial case. I mean, when you're like we just started a project and you don't have any separate data file, you just want to design a sample and just observe how it is working, right? Because data file, when you say data file, is always a dynamic thing which you expect from the other system to get on. So this kind of particular thing is only, it's like one time case. Like let us say if you're working on a system to have a sample data, you just want to execute some program to load the data, then this is how you can try to load the data using a control file, right? So now coming to the next one. So this kind of sample generally it is preferred when you are registering a SQL loader as a concurrent program. Okay. Yeah. So now like a type of loading, we have seen that there are three things like insert, append, delete, and truncate. Total 4 things. So insert, as I said you, like when you're trying to insert a data into the table should be empty. If the table is already having a records, insert will fail. Okay. And append, we already we just saw it, we just mentioned that it will just append the data into the existing set of existing in the if your table is already having a data, it just appends the data into the existing table. It will not do any changes to the existing records in the table, right? So this is information about replace and truncate, right? And let me just show you one sample, like how do we execute the SQL Loader script, right? So now this is my sample CTL file. Okay, so here I mentioned we have in the SQL Loader, before load data, we have a set of things called options where you can mention what do you want to perform. You can mention in the options we have skip, and there are some other properties are there. So here I just mentioned skip is equal to 1 because in my CSV file, first particular row, I have my column names. This should not be inserted, right? These are just column names for the understanding purpose. So my real content is getting started from second line. So that's the reason I mentioned option skip is equal to 1. Nothing but skip the first line. Load data in file. This is my data file name. Truncate. So nothing but it will just empty the existing data, right? So I'll try to show you the total 4 options. The first thing is, let's try with the insert, right? I'll just saving it, and I am in the command prompt now, right? So here I'm in the location where my data file as well as control file are there. So I'll just try to execute using this particular command, SQL LDR control is equal to control file name, user ID is equal to username followed by password. Okay, these are the database username password. Just execute. Now can you see, for insert option, table must be empty. So why it is giving this option? Because if you observe my table, right, I already have set of records here. Okay, let's say I'll just remove the data and I'll try to execute the command again, delete from table, right? I'll just say commit, right? So now I don't have any data in my table. I'll just try to re-execute the same command and let's see whether it inserts the data or not, right? So now we inserted 5 records, and just refresh and see whether we have 5 records or not. If you retry again, it will fail, because when you're trying to perform insert, the data in the table should be empty, then only insert will work. Okay, let's try with append. So now the expectation is that append will append the data into the existing table, right? So now in my CSV file, I have 5 records, and in my database table, I already have 5 records. If I re-execute this particular SQL Loader command, it will insert 5 more records into the table, right? So just execute now, right? So execute the script. See, let's start from EMP. Can you see? It inserted 5 more records. I'll just mention order by 1 descending, so it will order by employee number. Okay, that's all about append. Now you can try for the truncate. So already we have 10 records, right? We already have 10 records. Let's see what happens now when you try with the truncate. So I'll just execute this and check out the database table and see how many records it will do. Expectation is that it will have only 5 records, right? Because it erased all the existing data. And even if you try with replace also, it will have the same functionality. Truncate and replace both are same, but internally little bit difference will be there between truncate and replace. Okay, so coming to the syntax here, if you observe, I mentioned the table name fields terminated by comma, optional enclosed by double quotes, and here trailing null columns. Now here I mentioned my column name as well as the some set of properties here. So here if you observe my data file, how many columns I have? I just mentioned 5 columns, right? EMP name, EMP name, job, manager, salary, and department number. So there are some set of things which I am getting by default. EMP number It's like generated by sequence max of 1. And ename, what I'm doing is I'm appending the ename with the employee number. So you can use some sort of SQL commands here, SQL functions also here. And hire date, I'm using sysdate, right? And salary, I'm getting from the data file. Department, I'm getting from data file. And commission, I just did a constant here. So here, if you observe, so for the see, whenever you have any column value, whenever you mention any value for the particular columns, so it will not be considered from the data file. It will simply ignore that. So now we hide date as a hard coded sysdate, simply it will read the value from this particular function. It doesn't expect it from data. So that's the reason, if you observe carefully, right? So ename, job, manager, salary, and department number, 5 columns only I'm getting from the data file. Remaining are getting within the functionality within the using the same within the functionality from the SQL Loader control logic, right? So commission, I mentioned, is constant, right? So here the basic thing is you have to be very much careful when you have a larger number of columns. Which columns you are calculated, which columns are getting based on your data file. Those things you have to have a very clear understanding. Which columns you want to skip also you can mention. Okay. And when you execute, you generally get the log file. So here, right now, let's say I'll just mention some particular junk data. Okay, assume that I just mentioned some junk data here and try to re-execute and see what happens now. Okay, and see what is a log file. So I did not reject anything, right? Let's say I'll mention one more column here and see what happens now. Okay. So then maybe there should be some mistake here, right? Or where is that? Yeah, this was my sample CSV, right? See what is the data available here. Okay. So here, if you observe, because of that particular mistake, all this particular thing is getting disturbed. It is getting into some junk data. So we have to be very much careful. Sometimes your program may not give error, but carefully understand the syntax, carefully understand your particular data, and carefully try to validate your target table also. Then only it will work properly. Okay. So now let's get into the next slide. So if you want to skip any of the columns, you have to use a filler option. Now here, if you observe here this example, right? Now let us say in your data file you have a column called name, okay, and you have that's the first column, and you don't want to read that. You don't want to you don't want to consider that particular value for insertion. You can just simply mention filler, so it will ignore the particular column. Okay, and I was telling you, right, this options. So these are some of the options where you can mention. Generally, we use it very rarely. The skip is the option we mostly use it for the purpose of mentioning the how many rows you want to skip it. And these are some of the command line keywords which we generally come across. So major commands we generally use it are like a user ID, password, user ID, and control is equal to. And you can also mention this log file, bat file, data files kind of things. Let us say if your data file is if you want to pass data file as dynamic thing, then you can consider this option. If it is a static, it doesn't need to mention this data file stuff. And log file, bat file, even if you don't mention, what happens, it will generate the log file, bat file based on your SQL Loader control file name itself. Okay. So we'll just try to see one more sample, like how do we register a SQL Loader as a control file. So let me get into the instance. Right. So now once you register, let me show you the program which I have designed. So this is the control program which I have designed, and here if you observe the option I mentioned, in file, single quotes, dollar file I mentioned, and this is my data file. So here what is the expectation is that I want to pass this particular data file name at runtime. So I don't want to hard code my data file name. Okay. So what is the first thing I have to do is, first of all, once you design your program, copy this particular data file and control file into a particular bin folder. See, moving a data file into bin folder is not required. You can place your data file in any of the valid location within your Oracle Apps instance, but control file has to be in the bin folder in any of the top location based on your standard the location convention which you follow in your project. So in my case, what I've done is I've copied the control file into the FND top bin folder, and data file also I copied into same FND top bin folder. But one major important thing when you're copying data file from your local system to the Unix boxes. So here when you copy, right, so make sure that you transfer the settings using text file. Okay, so you may not really understand what is the issue, but you mostly will face a lot number of issues in this particular scenario. So you have to make sure that you pass your data in a text file mode. Once that is done, so let me show you my particular concurrent program. So what I've done is, yeah, I think it's due to inactivity it could not open. Let me log in, right? So now let me show you the parameters of this concurrent program, F11. So maybe I can show you the executable also if you're not aware of this. Sorry, LT percentile. So the important thing is executable name and short name can be of anything. This executable file name without CTL file extension you have to mention. And here I mention application object library. So it means that this control file, CTL file has to be available in the FND top bin folder. If your application name is different, so in the corresponding top folder bin folder in the top of that particular bin folder, you have to mention your control file without any file extension. Okay, so make sure that you follow the appropriate what you say naming convention and without any suffix and without any file extension, I mean to say, and also like the uppercase and all these things, right? It's a case sensitive, be careful, it's a case sensitive, we have to follow that appropriately. So once your executable is done, go to concurrent program, right? So close this one, program. So here I mentioned my executable name and you require one parameter. In the parameter I just mentioned my parameter name and this is my parameter, right? And this is a prompt. Okay, once you assign to the request group and just try to run the program, right? So here in this particular parameter I mentioned the total path of the file name, right? So you just mention the total path of the file name, click on OK and just submit. That's it, right? Now click on find, wait for some time and make sure that it has to be completed normal. If it is completed warning, it means you will have an issue. If it is completed error, also you'll have an issue. Be careful here. If you observe, right, earlier I just ran without giving any the path of the program, path of the data file, it clearly errored out. And in the other case, like it got into warning because I passed the data file in a binary mode. That's the reason I just got this warning. And the remaining two times, like it just clearly mentioned I clearly copied the data file in the text mode and then I ran the program. Right now, just clicked on view. If you click on view output, you'll not get any information. Okay, just try this. You'll not have any information because it's not a report. That's the reason you'll not have any output. So click on view log. It will clearly mention how many records it read and what are the arguments, what is a bad file, what is a control file, right? And what is a bad file as well as discard file. These particular things are available in the log Apple concurrent program output folder. Okay. So this is and you want to understand the log, right? So just try to understand the log is very much important. So it will clearly mention like how many rows, how many records it read, how many it got rejected, and all those things. And if it fails, it clearly mention that which particular record also it failed. So generally, bad file will have the information about which particular records it failed. Okay, so this is about registering the SQL Loader as a concurrent program. Okay, and yeah, so these are some of the slides. And developers who doesn't have the e-business suite, if you want to practice on the SQL Loader, what you can do is the only thing you require is you just require Oracle database utility. In my case, I just use Oracle XC database and SQL Developer, which are free, and just simply install and you can practice in the SQL Developer. Okay, so thank you. Please do subscribe to my channel. Please do provide your valuable comments. Good day.